Hello and welcome to Mission Apollo. I believe this is our first episode we've recorded in 2024. So, Owa, welcome to 2024. How's your year starting so far?
Really good. As you can see, my skin is so smooth, right? It's a new
Glowing.
year, new me.
Yeah.
It's those AI filters. I always remove it. But no, so far it's been going really well. A lot of project ongoing. We're working hard on all the boxes now to have something more compelling and box for accessories and scooters. That's been
Mhm.
doing well, and yeah, just life in general is it's pretty good in 2024 so far. So far. What about you?
Yeah, can't complain. It's been a good start to the year so far. It really feels like, I mean, I don't know if you share this feeling, but to me it always felt like in past years we were starting the year with like a vague plan, but really there was so much ambiguity and so many things changed. It didn't really feel like we ever stuck to the plan. This year it feels like we're very much on like a very definitive and clear road of what we need to get done. So I think that's I personally find that very soothing and yeah, it's a nice mood to be starting the year with, especially a year that's going to be as big for Apollo as we hope 2024 will be, right? So
Definitely. I think we're much more aware of our capability, because I remember last year, starting the year, we're moving factories, like literally the same factory, but moving. And before that, we were literally switching factories, like another factory making our scooter. So there's always a uncertainty when you need to plan your whole year about how many scooters you're going to produce, what you're able to do R&D wise with the engineers at our disposal.
yeah,
So now we know, right? We know how many we can produce. We know like the R&D how fast it's gonna go. So it's
yeah.
I
To,
think
to
in
your
that
point,
aspect,
it's the first year we're actually like anniversarizing the same conditions as the year before, right? It was always like whenever we started a new year in the past, it was comparing us to like a very different set of circumstances in the year prior. But this year is not, right. Like that stability is very much welcome. And to your point, we're producing before Chinese New Year, so we can have stock in March as opposed to producing in March and then only getting stock in May. So all these things that are kind of foundational, but somehow they always eluded us. So
totally.
yeah, okay.
I
So
want to mention there's no filters apparently right now, just for our audience.
in
Those
case
Korean product.
to know. It's just your great skincare routine. I mean,
Yeah,
a little fun fact for the audience: every time you go to China, Elwa just stocks up on beauty products. Comes back and then uses them for 3 months, so you can look
yeah,
like this
because
for a
we stopped in Korea, and Korea is like
long.
well known to have like the smell product and everything, and
Worth every dollar. Yeah, yeah. Cool. So what's happening with R&D? I guess there are a lot of things on the go, right? We've got the Pro being delivered this week. I guess by the time this podcast gets published, they'll probably have been delivered already. So um,
yeah, I was checking the Pro. They all have the IoT right now enabled because there's a free trial at the beginning. So all the SIM cards are active, and we can see they start moving from our fulfillment center. So that's I'm so excited about this. It's been 2 years and a half. We spent so much time, money, and effort on this. I really hope people can record their unboxing and share their experience because it's one of the best part when you unbox it. Like the
yeah.
the experience that you get out of it is way above everything else we did before. So yeah, this week this is going on. Um, and what else? Well, we are working on all the accessories, like I mentioned. We are doing like air pumps that I have here. See, pretty very pretty. We are doing handlebar extender as well for all our scooters with irregular shape. So it's gonna go like this.
Mhm.
So Air the city, you're finally gonna have access to a 20 millimeter handlebar. So that's great. So we and before we always had accessory that we were just purchasing for a supplier. Right now, some of them we are making it ourselves because of the custom, yeah, and all the box as well. So it all fits together, and it's I'm just very excited about that because we're finally gonna have accessories that match our scooters in terms of quality and unboxing experience, and a bunch of other ones that we're gonna announce soon. And so that's going on. We are working on different new project as well, but it's too early to talk about it now. But nonetheless, it's taking a lot of time from the
Mhm.
R&D team. And lastly, obviously, the Apollo Go, which we just completed the beta. Right now, we are well, we completed a beta in 2023 December. Right now, we are entering production as we speak this week. So I finger crossed that everything goes well during assembly. But yeah, those are the main things going on right now in our department.
Yeah, and I think maybe one more thing that's not per se a project, but this idea of, we I remember about a year ago we sat down and we said, okay, well, if our goal is to make scooters last for 10,000 kilometers, what things need to happen or change in order to enable that, right? And it was this not sexy, very kind of complicated and convoluted project to figure out, okay, well, what actually contributes to the durability of a product. So, I mean, just before we move on to the Go, which is the big shiny thing right now, how much progress do you think we've made on our journey to making scooters last to 10,000 kilometers?
I think this problem is almost divided in two, because we had our lineup that it was already existing while we made the decision, like the Air in the City, and we have our new lineup. And so there's some parts that needed to be changed to last 10,000 kilometers, like our folding mechanism, or we introduced self-healing tires, those kind of things. So that was definitely a bit more difficult than creating a scooter from scratch and just implementing what we learned from the Pro, which was built from the get-go to last 10,000 kilometers, and retrofitting it in other models. I would say for the first one, for the lineup, the Air and the City, we made tremendous impact and progress compared to last year. Is it going to last 10,000 kilometers? Well, it's definitely tested for 10,000 kilometers, but there's so many things that can happen. One interesting fact is last year, our defect rate for the city was, well, very high. I'm going to let you say it if you want, Matt. But we actually mentioned it in our QC video. We passed from 30% defect upon arrival, and this includes everything. If there's a little scratch on your frame or anything that makes it not perfect is a defect in our mind.
It's like, let's just be very clear about this. It's not 30% of scooters not working upon arrival. It's like it could be a scratch or paint chip or anything, right?
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes it's ridiculous what we count as defect, but it's scratch, right? Like it shouldn't be scratch. So we passed from 30%, 35% at one point to right now we are under 2%. And this is for minor, for major defect, we're under 1%. We catch maybe 1 or 2 unit that sometimes the wheel is shaking, is not balanced. But finally ditching all those inner tubes and just having tubeless tire really helped for the balancing of the tire. So that's one of the reasons. So in that aspect, well, yes, I think they're going to last a lot longer. 10,000 kilometers, it's going to take years for people to reach that. But, if we take a quick look at SA, we have about 100 customers that put more than 5,000 kilometers on their Air and City that they recorded in the app. To be clear, maybe there's a lot more outside, and they're still riding. So I think I think we're getting closer to our goal.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part was also during our visits to China. We would meet with the suppliers that make controllers or meet the suppliers that make the batteries, and it was pretty eye-opening to see the kind of testing they do at their facilities to make sure that this battery pack will last for however many charge cycles, And then what we did is we said that's not enough, and we started testing it at our production capacity, production facility as well. So we basically double test a lot of the critical components that go into our scooters. And then, I think the culmination of that was just buying the Monster rig in 2024, right? So, or 2023. So what is the Monster rig? Can you just describe it for us?
Yeah, I think to your first point, it's so important to work with reliable supplier, but you always want to double check, even more in China, to be honest. And from time to time, there's suppliers that goes out. If a supplier of like a fender, for example, or even battery, they have a big contract with a bike supplier and they just cancel their order. Well, then this supplier of battery, often they just go bankrupt. So you need to find a new supplier. So it's constantly moving like this. So being able to do this testing in-house with our standard is it's critical. To go back to your question, what is a Monster rig? That's not the official, well, it's the official name, I guess, but it's a rig that breaks scooter. So at our floor, like Matt just mentioned, we have at our factory, we have a whole floor dedicated to testing. We have a room for rig testing. Those are gigantic machines that's going to shake pretty much everything that is shakeable on a scooter and try to break it. And we have another room for electronic. On the first room, we had a big rig that we put the scooter on. The rear wheel is fixed. There's a weight shaking on the scooter, and we're able to do 10,000 kilometers on this rig. On cheap models, they were breaking. Some of them, they were just snapping in half. Not the Apollo one. I'm not going to name which one we purchased and tried, but on other scooter we could snap it, but the Apollo one we're not snapping on this rig, and there was not even enough place to fit weight on the scooter to try to add weight to break it. So we were taping like a 45-pound plate on it. It's ridiculous.
But that's an important point, though, right? Because to your point, like the job of the rig is to break the scooter and tell us how it's going to fail and when it's going to fail, and we couldn't break our scooters, right?
Exactly.
So that was the genesis of the monster rig, I guess.
Exactly, and some of our scooters were breaking, so it's then it's like, okay, how are we not able to break it, like with our software that we do the analysis with the rig as well? So, we went back to the supplier of the rig and we asked them to just do something brutal. And this led to the monster rig. So instead of having just one wheel that spin with all the weight shaking like this, the weight shake on the first rig because there's bump on the wheel spinning. So it takes bumps to make the suspension work, everything else like this. For the second rig, the monster rig, we attach weight to the handlebar, and both wheels spin and both wheels have bumps, and we can change the height of the bump. So we can put 1 centimeter or 3 centimeter, and there's a lot more space to put even more weight on the scooter. So now a scooter that we were able to do with the same criteria, the same weight on the deck. On the first rig, we're able to do 5,000 kilometers. Nothing was happening. On the other one, we can break it within 300 kilometers if we want. So that was the first step to really be able to break the scooter. After that, we bought pretty much all the competitor scooters, put it on the rig, and see how we compare to them. Because we are pulling those stats basically out of our ass. There's no standard in e-scooter like for e-bike. So we're like, okay, we're gonna put 300 kilos on the scooter, try to do 5,000 kilometers and a bump of 3 centimeters. Like we have to come up with stats. So the other step is obviously buy the competitor scooters, see where they break, and then we can establish a benchmark out of this. That's what we did, and we realized that on some case, like the Apollo Go, for the stem shaking, we have a machine that push and pull like this. We last 10 times longer than the other biggest brand of scooter out there. So it's now that we established those baseline, those benchmark, it's giving us a very clear idea how strong our scooter are. And to go back to your point, they should actually last 10,000 kilometers, which is it's a peace of mind for the company and the customer.
So then the follow-up question on the Pro, I think, is a good example because it's a scooter that went through all the rig tests, and then it had the beta program, right? So were there any instances where the beta program discovered issues or problems that the rigs didn't catch?
Definitely. The rig is inside with a nice temperature in China. It's always nice there. No water, no dirt, nothing that you don't expect. When we do the beta, it's that we want this sand, this dirt, this water to go inside the suspension, make it squeak, and everything else that is more like a quality of life thing than critical failure. So when we did the beta of the Go, we realized the first thing we noticed after a couple days is the front suspension squeaking. And that was something we never catch before. So that's a very good example of what happened. And even the folding mechanism, we had a couple. It was not optimal. That was simply not possible to catch on the rig, which was confirmed with the beta. And then you have all the software thing as well. We are pushing more and more software with our scooters. Now we have the IoT or even all the light change. For sure, when you try the scooter, you try with the app, everything's going to work well. But it's when you combine multiple action, you're riding your scooter, then you stop for a split second and you try to change the setting while pressing on the brake that you realize, okay, now there's a bug. So that's where the beta testers, they really shine and help us figure out the last little problem with the scooter.
Yeah, it's super interesting, right? Because to your point, like you think you put it on a monster rig and it survives that, like what could possibly break it? And then you realize actually the way that people are going to interact with the scooter is very different than how the machine's going to interact with the scooter, right? Like the machine will push 80 kg on the stem every single time, right? But a human's going to do 40, 60, 100, 70, right? And again, it just produces different results. So I think combining rig testing with all the FEA analysis, the computer simulations you do, with then the insane I mean, we went way overboard with the Pro Beta program, right? Like we had 150 riders doing 500 kilometers. That's so Segway just announced their, what is it, the F40 Pro or whatever, or E40 Pro, and their big claim to fame was 3,000 kilometers traveled before launch. We did 75,000 on the Pro, right? Like it's just stupid how much we pushed that testing. And so, I mean, the moral of the story is, it's a scooter that took 2.5 years to develop, because in parallel to all the R&D developments that were taking place, there was like a separate project that was basically just make this thing last for 10,000 kilometers happening simultaneously, right? So really, I think this is not something we've ever publicly discussed as like, why did it take so long? Why did we have so many different versions? But it is a good segue to now discussing why the Go was able to move as quickly as it did. So how long did it take us to go from V1 to production for the Go?
From our first trip in China, so from March, April, May, from May to right now, and that was 3 iterations. So what, May?
9 months?
Yeah, pretty much 9 months compared to 2.5 years for the Pro. Obviously, the Pro is more complex, right, with all the electronics, but for the critical frame things, even the Pro at the end, we're still changing things that was directly implemented inside the Apollo Go. So yeah, from 2.5 years to 9 months, that's crazy. And what is even better is that for the Go, we were, like we just mentioned, for the Pro Beta, we were still finding things in the beta that was not expected. For the Go, at the beginning of the beta, we had a list of what we knew was not ideal for this pre-production, and the beta tester pretty much just confirmed that, and nothing else was found. Nothing cracked on the Pro 2, nothing cracked, but nothing cracked. There was no like electronic failures. It was just all little things. Like a heavy rider would prefer a stiffer suspension or something related to the app that people would like the landscape mode. So very, again, quality of life improvement rather than something that needs to be addressed right now and it's critical. That being said, we did change a couple of things. We added a safety strap for all our models, a rubber safety strap that go around the folding mechanism. I don't have it here, but that looks really good with our logo on the side. So in the event that your orange button would not clip in the stem, well, then you have this rubber latch as well. So you need to remove the rubber latch, press the orange button, and then open it to be able to fold your scooter. So that's fantastic. And it's just another peace of mind. We improved the rear suspension, so we put stiffer spring, and we also added grease when we assembled the scooter. And it should be noted that when we do a beta group, there's 2 types of improvement. There's the one that needs to happen on the hardware. We need to change the 3D file to adapt it for new things, and we also have the assembly that need to change. The way that we assembled it, adding grease there, adding lock.
I think your AirPods may have just.
That's also very important to add this assembly step. So we improved the rear suspension, added grease, a bit stiffer as well. So when you jump on it, it's silent and it just feels better. And it's going to also accommodate a wider range of rider. We add the improved folding. On the deck now, you can lock the stem when you fold it, compared to the CD that you had like a kind of hook. So now we improved that button. The little rubber that we had on top was coming off, and the internal structure was not aligning perfectly, making it difficult to clip in place. Now we changed the internal structure, and the rubber should stay in place better as well because it was made smaller. There's probably going to be another revision later on this, but it seems like now it's working really well. We in the app, the change, some people wanted like the Pro to be able to activate the cruise control by keeping your finger on one button and then it kicks in, rather than leaving your finger at a certain angle while pressing on the throttle for 6 seconds and then it kicks in. It's not intuitive. So we changed that, and we changed also for the turning signal. A lot of people, surprisingly, when we had the turning signal at the beginning on the Phantom, people were complaining that it was not being removed automatically. Then we removed it automatically after 7 blinks, and then people complained that they want it to be infinite. So we just made that option in the app. So that's great. That's like a quality of life that I categorize this improvement. The headlight was improved. It's a bit brighter. and the shade of the headlight's going to match the shade of the stem light, because now it was like kind of yellow and white, very white for the stem light. Now it's going to be white and white, so just looks better. The brighter brake lights for the pre-production, it was not coming from the mold, the rear plastic. It was 3D printed with resin, so the opacity was not optimal, and we were not sending the correct amount of voltage on the brake lights. So now it's brighter, and you see through. It shine through a lot easier, so it's just way cleaner. We improved the front suspension, the dampening. There's a rubber inside the front suspension that if you jump pretty hard, it was making a pretty loud knocking sound on the pre-production. This rubber is thicker and longer, so when you jump on it, it's going to compress on that rubber and remove the sound completely. And lastly, well, the whole assembly and QC, we did the SOP, which is a standard operating procedure. Like we show in all the videos before, we made them just way bigger, and every step of the way is highlighted with the color of the Loctite that need to be used, the torque that need to be on this screw and this screw. So making this whole process easier and better for the assembly workers going to lead to less defect when you get out of the box, and it's going to last probably the 10,000 kilometers.
Probably, but pending confirmation. How many I know it's like it's tough because we need to get the final production unit produced before it's able to go on the rig, right? But the V3, do you remember off the top of your head how far did we get before we had to switch the product that was being tested on the rig?
What is your question for the V3?
Yeah, for the previous version of the Go we put on the rig, how many kilometers did it reach before we had to pause testing?
5,000,
yeah.
Because we wanted to switch for another model for something else, but 5,000, and it's still look great.
Yeah, so that's like another consideration with the scooters like the Go, or having the Monster rig. It takes time, right? Like it rolls at I think 6 kilometers per hour, so to get to 10,000 just takes months.
Yeah, 12 kilometers per hour, roughly 15 hours a day, and they're off on Sunday, so it's definitely a very long process, and we need to do it for the Air, the City, the Pro, the Go, and all the other new things we're doing. And there's one rig, and there's other customer for this rig if we don't use a Monster rig. So it's it's always a fight with the factory. It's okay, put it back now. We have a couple of days. So yeah.
Well, and that was part of the reason why the beta distance requirement for the Go changed, right? So for the Pro, it was 500 kilometers that you had to put on the scooter. For the Go, we made it 1,000 to kind of compensate for that inability to test it fully. But nonetheless, the feedback's been really positive. So just circling back to the Go, I know you've had a chance to ride it in China. It's not the final production version, but pretty close. And then you got a chance to take it for another spin in Montreal. How was it? How would you describe it? Just give me like your first impressions as someone who rides scooters professionally.
What's impressive with this scooter is always the torque, because it's such a small scooter. You expect something like the Air, but then you're reminded that no, there is a dual motor, so you better grab those handles pretty tight. So acceleration is really the first one. The second one, after you accelerate and you go fast, you realize just how stable it is for such a short handlebar. I remember the first time we were in China, you were trying to go, and I was with the Air next to you, and we go, we ride like in the neighborhood, and then we switch, and it's the first thing you say is like, what the fuck? It's so much better, it's so much better because of a combination of things. It's the stem angle, it's the different type of suspension now that we have that is directly on top. So the quality of ride is enhanced tremendously. And the other one is the suspension. The suspension to me is comparable to the City one instead of being like the Air one, and it's practically invisible. So this is also a shocker when you jump on it. And like, wow, it's so comfortable. And being 9-inch tire, you expect to feel the bumps on the road, and you don't feel anything. Those would be the three main shocking thing to me. And it's so nice to finally have an entry-level scooter that you have the quad lock on it. It's really enhancing the app experience tremendously by having this.
Yeah, the way I think we're trying to break out the portfolio is the Air is increasingly just becoming our like way to get into the Apollo lineup, right? So if you're somebody who's been wanting to get an Apollo, the Air has been consistently at $899. It's good value. It's a competitive scooter. It's just a great starting place. Then if you're ready for an upgrade, or maybe you're looking for your first scooter, but you're a bigger rider, or you live in the hilly area, or you just want a more capable machine, the Go becomes kind of that upgrade option that you're looking for. And to your point a lot, I mean, the suspension, I would completely agree. Like that, the smoothness of it is just the same as the city, right? Like the quality is the same, but I think the travel on the city, just by a function of being like bigger, is a little bit more. So, but the Go, yeah, I mean, like just riding it around, Vancouver around Christmas was incredible. Just that I think to your point, what's so understated about it is the rake angle of the stem. Like no one really talks about it, but we're the only company that keeps having it as, I guess, aggressive as it is, and really just eliminates the need for any type of steering dampening altogether, right? So you kind of get that sporty look, but also you just get this incredible stability at high speeds, which is incredible. So I'm trying not to have favorites, but this one is, making it difficult. Let's put it that way. So I got the Go, which is obviously the upgrade option, and then the city. The city, we're trying to be very clear. It's like you want the most dependable, trusted commuter that's been in the market for all these years. It's still offering, all of the same features. You've got the region, you've got the self-healing tires, great suspension, bigger deck. Like it's just that is the commuter vehicle, and then you get to the Phantom. And that's our high performance, and then you got the Pro, which is the luxury, right? So you kind of have the first venture introduction, upgrade, commuter, high performance, luxury. The Go is super exciting, and I can't wait for people to finally have an option to buy a dual motor scooter for like $1,000, $1,100. So it's because historically, what were your options? The InMotion Climber, which is no suspension, were basically the same weight but with suspension, and Unagi is really lightweight, but there's no suspension, there's no the motors are tiny as well, so
7-inch tires too. On the Unagi, you have the dedicated regen, but that's it. You don't have any other brakes, which is I don't like that. And on the InMotion, you don't have any regen as well, right? And on top of that, the obvious, all the cool lights on the scooter, aesthetically, the scooter is a lot more pleasing than the two other ones. And Unagi is nice, it looks good. It's lightweight, but man, those 7-inch tire, you get a concussion when you ride in the streets here.
Like this, the Go is the difference. I would say is the Go is a good scooter for like 0 to 5 kilometers. The Go is like a scooter that can cover 0 to 15 kilometers, and you're still going to be totally fine, right? And so, I mean, to your point, it's one of the lightest in the category. The final weight we clocked in at was what,
46.
Right? Yeah, so I mean, even comparing it to the Segway Max, this is the crazy part. Segway Max G2, dual suspension, single motor, same battery, 54 pounds, so 8 pounds lighter than the Max. We've got the dual motors with, which is what, two times 350 or 2 times 750 peak. So really, really solid output there. We can climb way steeper slopes than any of the other scooters in this price point. And then we're looking at, obviously, the dual suspension, the lights that you mentioned, the RBS, the regen, the self-healing tires, all the phone as display features and benefits that it comes with. So yeah, it packs a ton of value into a fairly small price point, I think.
And the thing that we cannot, I'm not gonna say the real numbers, but I guarantee you on the rig, the difference between the two is it's ridiculous. How long the Segway Max is gonna last compared to the Go? It's the fact, it's multiple times.
Yeah. So really, I think what we're seeing is that it's a lot of the work, a lot of the research, a lot of the efforts that went into building the Pro are now starting to trickle down into scooters like the Go. So it's just fantastic to see something that we've been able to make for a market that is much broader. The market for a $4,000 scooter is obviously quite limited, but a market for an $1,100 or $1,200 scooter is much bigger, and you get 90% of the same benefits as you would with the Pro. So. Well done, Noah. Well done, R&D team. I'm personally super excited to get my unit as well. Every single day, I'm honestly just like, I could just be riding a scooter right now. So it's exciting.
Yeah, a fun fact, the top 5 people that put mileage on the Go in a month, I think. I can see since December 14 for the first one, so just about a month now, 1,600 kilometers on the Go, which is insane.
That's one person put 1,600 kilometers on.
One person, and this is Martin Brenner, our MVP. Good job, Martin. Second one, 1,100 since December 18, and this is Michael Moorhead's 67. This gentleman is in San Francisco, apparently living at the top of the steepest hill, and he's crushing it. So that's a very good reassurance. And we were laughing the other day, but when we went to San Francisco, even with the car, everybody is like this and it's struggling, and this guy's at the top of the steepest one, and the Go apparently is just crushing it. So that's great. Then we have Jacome at 1,000 kilometers. Then we have Mr. Calderon at 800 kilometers, and the fifth one, Marlisa, at 569 kilometers. So, and all the other ones are pretty much 500 and 400. So good job, everyone. And none of them reported anything wrong with the scooter, So that's again the beauty of it.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal, and thank you to all the beta testers who are participating. You're making, you're really doing a lot of the heavy lifting for all the consumers that will benefit from this work down the road. So the exciting part is we're going to open up pre-orders for the Go on February 7th. So if you've been thinking about getting one, for once, they will be available before the riding season comes. So latest ETA for delivery, I think, is early March. Maybe even late February, depending on how quickly we're able to clear customs and all that. But as Eloi said, production kicked off. I think today is actually the first day we produced like 100 units or something. Like we just completed the first day of full production and assembly. So those scooters are going to start shipping out soon. So Feb 7th, there will be incentives for the first handful of customers. If you want to get the best deal, make sure you make a reservation for $20, and then they'll obviously be credited towards your Go, as well as you'll get a little discount. So what else? Anything else to add, Eloi?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully by the time we do the next episode, we can show all our new cool accessories as well, and probably have the Go with us right here.
Exactly. Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, Eloi, and
Thank you.
catch you next time.
Bye.